Consistency is the name of the game, and sometimes when it comes to a championship like this one, you don't need to pick up wins to go and take the championship lead. So Aaron De Battista knows as we walk to halfway here in this championship output, now is the time where you probably want to put some in the bank and try and fend off the likes of Mika Mercheka and Sean Cassar, who are looking to chase. We head to one of the free circuits on iRacing and to the Circuit de Navarra for the next round, the third round of your SIMAGIC F4 series. My name's Jake Sperry. You've got, of course, Joseph Black alongside with us. And Joseph, we take a look at the Circuit de Navarra here, and knowing that they have got 4 races in 4 weeks to end off the season. And so here at halfway, it's critical that they work through the lumps and bumps when they've got Gilles Villeneuve and Snetterton on the other side.
Certainly is, and well, it's always good to be back here on the F4 series here for Velocity. And yeah, I mean, there's plenty of different challenges for all these different circuits. We made that point last week about how Navarra and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are so very different, and how Snetterton just interweaves the two. So it's always going to be good fun to see. And as you say, 4-race sprint to the end of the season. And I think this is going to be one of those crucial rounds where we could be seeing proper championship contention start to work itself out.
We absolutely will do. This show brought to you in collaboration with Motors Inc., Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. With so much that we have run through and what we go to next, Navarra, one of the newest circuits actually in the world of Spain and in the world of motorsports in general. If you haven't seen what it's all about, here's a little preview that gets you up to speed.
Welcome to Circuito de Navarra. A relatively recent addition to the European racing scene, this track opened in 2010 just about 2 hours south of the French border near Los Arcos, Spain. The 3 available configurations range between 15 and 6 turns, going from 2.4 miles down to only 0.8 of a mile. In metric, that's just under 4 kilometers down to 1.3 kilometers. Its most notable features are the plethora of sharp, slow bends throughout. But despite this, it opens on a fast set of kinks for turns 1 and 2. This makes the setup for the hairpin of turn 3 a difficult proposition. That's not to say it lacks some more open radii. Turns 5, 6, and 7 have quite a flowing sequence. The final half of the course is especially full of the tighter corners, while also changing direction constantly. There's not much elevation change to speak of, but because of that, the fans have a slew of viewing mounts to take in quite a bit of the track. Motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, TC, and GT cars are all regular visitors. Plus, it brings regional series from across the borders, with both British and French championships making visits. iRacers can rejoice with this being part of the base content included with their subscription. No doubt they'll find out why it's an easy draw for fans in the real world to come check out this new facility.
So, 3.92 kilometers on what is the long layout of this circuit, and the older layout of this circuit, because they have recently done some updates that iRacing hasn't yet got around to, which will run all the way back through where turn 11 is. It goes a little bit longer, and it continues on to what will be a right-left chicane after a hairpin for turns 13 and 14. But right now on this circuit, a 15-turn layout that gives so much promise of overtaking opportunity, and you got that long run into what is very much an Iberian coded opening set of corners here, Joseph. And critically, in this 25 and 15 minute races that we have going on, you're going to need to be aggressive early, as what this circuit is as part of Motorsport Vision Racing tracks out there in the world. It's all about building the opportunity to make the overtake.
It certainly is. All of these corners are going to be... I mean, if you work hard enough anywhere, is an overtaking opportunity, and they're going to try to do so in the first, I'd say, 5 minutes-ish of each race. But if it's anything to go by for the last few rounds of the season, at least, I think they're going to be... there's going to be a big bit of action at the start where they all try to fly their way through, and we could be seeing, as we saw last week, a four-wide moment.
We very much could do, and we'll keep an eye out on for those, especially on that main straight, turns 1, 2, and 3. That's the most likely spot to get it. Other overtaking zones, turn 6 is always a great chance. Turn 9 is going to be critical, and if you're brave, there are chances at 13 and 15 to get the job done, as well as turn 11 on the switchback out of turn number 9. So let's talk the championship standings and where we are here at the moment. So Aaron De Battista on top, and on top by 2 over Mika Mercheka in second place. Sean Kassar finds himself in third in that ever-eternal battle of rivalry between Intercomp VMD and Project Aversio. Ryan Carabot, with his victory last time out, moves up to fourth, with Dean Vella, the Maltese national champion, in fifth place. Craig Caruana is there in sixth, ahead of Jake Samet, and Adrian Manduka there in eighth. So it is a smorgasbord of fantastic drivers in the national scene of Malta out there and battling here, but critically, it's how you build that margin. For those positions a little bit further down, you can see there are drivers who are yet to get off the board. I'm shocked to see George Parge, for example, yet to get off the mark.
Yeah, it is rather surprising. He always tends to be one that you'd expect to be up there, and I think we'll be seeing him trying to get his first points on the board. Maybe it's a bit of nerves, the first time that VER have headed onto iRacing, and so that might be a contending factor for that one. So it's just about getting yourselves underway, and it's just about trying to... try to learn a new sim and adapt, and he might be struggling at the moment.
Well, Sheldon Muscat as well, a driver only on 10 points. I'd expect him to challenge for the championship, and he's a long way back off of the get-go. So we'll keep an eye out on things then with those drivers looking to try and jump up, score those points, and move on through the order. Qualifying we'll soon touch upon in a moment as we take a live look down here at Navarra and where everybody is getting themselves set up then in this qualifying. 8.5 minutes remaining out there at this point, and now you've got to try and chuck these early laps in. Jake Samet quickly was the fastest, but Aaron De Battista has gone a little bit quicker than that. We were with Brandon Bonello up into turns 2 and 3, and you really have to work to get it to turn on in. You can see fighting a little bit of oversteer there off the exit of 3, running a little bit wide, and then having to fight back into turns 4 and then 5 and 6, which follow on immediately afterwards. Almost 3.5 tenths for Aaron De Battista with that first lap of qualifying, but look at how it starts to climb up slightly off camber as you work in through and immediately get chucked into turn number 7, fights off the exit here of 7 through 8 into turn number 8, and now this is where you set up on the furthest part away on this circuit for turn 9.
He's going to just keep flying through the corners in this the final part of the track, or the final half, let's say, of the track, running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 10, but still absolutely fine. Then heading into the tight corner, I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of drivers outbraking themselves there today. And Bonello is going to come to the end of his first lap at the moment, or of his second lap even. At the moment, first place is a 138.453, and that's not a moment he would have wanted to see.
Not at turn 13, no. Massive amount of oversteer there as he tried to plant right foot down to the floor and then having to fight a little bit up the hill through the final corner of 15 to get that one to rotate the way it required. And then crossing through for that lap, it is an improvement of 4 tenths, so it's enough to jump up more. Jake Samet second, and only just second at this moment there, as he was only a tenth off the pace. You got Elul, who's moved up, and Sheldon Muscat up to third. There's Mika Mercheka. Second lap maybe looked like a cool lap out there, so it's now down to 6th because Dean Vella's moved up to 4th, and here is Steve Caesar Farrell, who's now moving for the line. And he's hoping for a good lap time here. 39 flat is going to be good enough to move to 9th place ahead of Adrian Manduka. So, again, another driver making good progress out there. Samet now working through, understanding he's got a 10th of a second to find. And if he can manage it, it's going to put him back in the wheelhouse.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to put him back in control. But De Battista at the moment is looking very, very strong. Just under a 10th ahead at the top of the field is where he's going to try to stay. But Samet is going to try to find that time to improve on what he had at the moment, a 1:38.547. Sheldon Muscat over a tenth off the back, and Dean Bella just under a tenth off of the back of Muscat. It's looking pretty well matched at the top in terms of all of those drivers being about a tenth off of the back of each other. Then Kazar and Macheka both split by 0.04 of a second, so they're even better match for 5th and 6th. They're beaten out by 7th and 8th, being split by 0.02. What can Jake Samet do as he comes up to the line on the exit of what was the 17 corner circuit? It will not be an improvement.
No, neither will it be for Mika Macheka, who crosses the line, and so it continues to be one of those where those laps are critical. Better from Andrew Manduka, moves up on a 38.6, puts him on the 3rd row of the grid. Craig Caruana, another one who is looking to try and jump on forward and say, look, we're going to be hoping to try and find that time. And ultimately, I think you're staring down a barrel here of drivers who maybe think they've got everything they want in the back pocket, not necessarily getting everything there in those laps. Steve Farrell definitely won't see an improvement on that one, but typically for this here, they've got about 4 minutes, so they've got to keep an eye out and see who's on circuit and if anyone's got any laps left, which by the looks of things here, they do not.
No, it doesn't look like they do. Everybody coming in and ending on their lap. Sean Kassar jumping up there late on to go up to the 2nd row of the grid. I mean, it's a good performance from him. One that I don't think we were quite expecting.
No, but Sean is 3rd in the championship, so I would look around at that and say he's doing a very good job in terms of putting himself now into position where he can make everybody sit up on notice. And that's one of the things that you get with qualifying. Sometimes the form book changes week to week, and because of that, you will see different drivers getting up to the top with a competitive nation like this one here, Joseph. And when you sit down and you look around and you say, okay, everybody's got a chance to be picking up points on everyone else. How critical is it to find that consistency week to week, putting yourself with a good qualifying?
It's critical, but it is very, very difficult indeed. The drivers will be pushed to their limits, really, and trying to pick up those extra hundredths of a second that they need. And as you say, it's a very, very competitive scene out there in Malta. It's a great scene, and well, it's one that I've had the pleasure of being a part of for a while now. So it's always good to see all of them competing out there, and they are just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, they're well matched. I mean, we're seeing a lot of drivers that have less than a tenth of a gap between each other. So I think if qualifying with only a few laps to get a lap on the board, really, if qualifying is that close, the race is going to be even better.
Yeah, and these FIA F4 cars, very much about the drafting process. It's sort of that medium ground to what you see, say, for example, with a Skip Barber or Formula V. You move on up, you're into F4, you then got the F3s, and then you're up through into the bigger Formula categories that are out there here on iRacing. So gets very popular, especially with the likes of the global FIA F4 Championship that's run, the national F4 Championships that get run as well, that hold their weight and prestige. So it is a car that has significant importance to be driven properly and aggressively.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you do have to throw this car into corners, really. It's for rookies to Formula racing as it is in real life, and it's been replicated into the game. And it's one of those cars that it's kind of it's built with mistakes in mind, so it can be very forgiving, but you have to remember at the end of the day that it is a Formula car, so they are going to go very fast. There is going to be the ability for mistakes woven in, so it's one of those cars where you can push, but there is it's a very high, but there is a limit.
It absolutely is, and so you got to keep an eye out on where the limit is, because when you step over it, it's very easy to spin. So you while it has adaptability and drivability in its core philosophy, it is also a car that can snap at the wrong time, so you're going to have to be very, very choice as to where you go and find that into play. So I would be keeping a very firm focus on who's going to be managing to jump on up the order and who is going to be saying, look, I didn't quite get everything as and how I needed it to. So I would look around at this qualifying. Some very strong times. De Battista, Samet, Cassar, your top three. But talk about those who are looking to try and make a name who didn't get qualifying that they wanted to. Ryan Carabot, in my mind, is a little far down the order. He's someone who, when he puts his mind to it, he got a win last time out at Okayama. Hasn't been able to show nearly the same amount of pace here at Navarra through qualifying.
But it was all about, last time, it was all about having that consistency and all about having that having that attrition, really, around Okayama. I mean, it was a test of patience for all of the drivers, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the same today at what is a rather flat Navarra circuit.
Right, let's take a look then at the starting grid then for this first race out of 2. 25 minutes on the clock here. And so it's Aaron De Battista in control, a 138.453. Jake Samet is going to be alongside for company on that front row, as it will then be Sean Cassar who will be in third position, and fourth belonging to Sheldon Muscat. Adrian Manduka will line up fifth with Dean Vella in sixth, which leads to Mikhail Mercheka and Ryan Carabot on row 4. Ilan Dimek Giershi is in ninth, and Brandon Bonello rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, looking just outside of the top 10, it will be Steve Farrell, Craig Caruana, George Page. He'll be hoping to climb up from there. And then Denzel Agius and Jaden Ellel will round out our 15-car field.
So they will have 2 minutes to get themselves gridded up, or they have the option of electing to start this race from pit lane. That will be something that they keep in note in what are partly cloudy conditions that they are running in at the moment. 23 degrees track temperature, so not too hot out there. It's going to be pretty nice. Low levels of rubber that's been put down on the circuit. Any carryover has come along from the previous sessions, and they didn't really have long before the 12 minutes of qualifying were set and ready for them. But grid slots here at Navarra line up with the car on the left-hand side being your pole sitter. So they will get the rubbered in line to work with. You're on the dirty side of the track if you start on the right. So you will have a lot of work to do to try and pull that gap on in. So keep an eye out on that, though, because it's a sweep to get to the inside for what are turns numbers 1 and 2 and 3. Very similar to the likes of corners, say, like Estoril or Portimao in that regard. It is going to be, though, a case of who can manage on the start of this, because green flag drops and we're underway. Sean Cassar a little slow off the get-go, and immediately he's going to offer Sheldon Muscat everybody over to the right-hand side, trying to get toe and to defend into 1, then 2, and for the moment it is De Battista who's got it covered as they work then 2 by 2 into turn 3. It's a nice clean start, which is what we love to see. Cassar then in third, Muscat fourth, Vella side by side, gets contact with Manduka, who holds the ground through 4 and into 5, and 1 wide off the exit there, trying to push on through, and ultimately not necessarily finding the angle. That's Craig Caruana. Into 6 and 7 they go.
Oh, big bit of contact, and oh my goodness me, he's gone flying over the barrier. He's dissipated off of the earth as Dean Vella, and that's going to be the end of his race. But a dramatic bit of contact, and a bit more further up. You said a nice clean start. I think you might have just jinxed it.
Well, they did well for the first part, and then they just got a little bit too aggressive into turn number 6. Ultimately, it was Manduka then who came together with both Merchieka and Vella. Vella ends up vaulting over the barriers and out of the race, but Mikhail Merchieka is the one who is the big loser in all of that and is going to have to work hard to get back. Caruana on the back of this battle here, as you got George Page and the likes then of Jaden Ellel, who has proven to be one who needs to battle and defend here in this group, working hard through 13 over towards 15 to try and get the push forward in through turn 14. Lovely stuff then to get the line needed. Sweep, you can work the outside here, you can get to the power earlier, which is what happens there for George Page, and he'll be very happy. Into the pits goes Mikhail Merchieka with damage as they fan out along this straight, and Bonello here will look for his lane in the middle of this. A Lul on the outside, then George Page, who has to basically run in the middle of the road, trying to avoid any form of contact. There's the sweep at turn 2. Oh, fighting there to get some grip. And Page ultimately is going to see a Lul has to stay behind.
In the end, it was very, very solid racing indeed, and it just has to go behind in the end. Brandon Bonello is on the back of these two and hoping that they're going to cost each other a bit more time. A bit of a wobble from Elil, it looked like, as he went right into the dirty air of Page and just tried to sit behind the number 7 as there's a late lunge. Oh, that's tight, and that's going to come to contact. Page is going to drop down the order, and Elil is going to be feeling a little bit sheepish about that one.
They do have stewards who look at incidents out there, and they do a very, very stern job. And, oh, there's even more trouble out there, as that's going to be a massive smash-up over at turn 9. Jaden Alul this time will see himself on the wrong side of contact going through from, I believe, Craig Caruana making that happen. Top 4 haven't minded this at the moment, though. They are out there in front. They're happy with what they've got. It's De Battista, Samet, Kassar, and Muscat. And so they all sit back and realise, well, between us four, everyone else, forget about them. The worry is somewhere else for it. That's wide behind from Ilan Dimek, Girshi there. And Girshi will suddenly be looking around and going, hang on a minute, that's Ryan Karabot, who I'm trying to get through with. Here goes the look from Jake Samet, though, trying to work a big line to the outside. Doesn't quite get there, but ultimately, it opens up the chance here. Sean Kassar working the long way around here at turn 3. Doesn't work. He gets run out of road.
Unfortunately, he just ran out of road there, and he is very much going for this lead early on in this race. There's about 3 tenths between himself and De Battista, and he's now looking further back at Kassar and Muscat just behind him, as those two are going to fight. They got very, very tight in terms of racing between each other, and now the gap between 4th and 5th place is about 4 seconds. That's Gershi all by himself. Karabot is another 4 seconds back, as we're going to get our first replay of the day. Is this what happened earlier on?
So Manduka here thinks he leaves enough room, and I argue he does. They tangle tyres, and then Vela ends up vaulting over the top, and very unlucky in all of that was Mikhail Murchieka, who basically caught the tag on the outside. No way of avoiding that in terms of the incident, and ultimately it's dropped him down to 14th place and 10 seconds off the back of anybody having made a pit stop to get damage repaired. So that's how they focus. Out to 13 and over to turns 14 and 15 out there, and it's a very early pit lane commitment. You take it at turn 14 out here on track on the outside, and it's a single track lane in with a chicane to slow you down before the curves. Change position between Farrell and Denzel Agius as they continue to scrap about, but you're leading 4. I think they're going to try and bide themselves some time. De Battista will want his first win of the season. Jake Samet looking on the outside, looking for his second.
Yeah, he wants it, and it's all about who can want it more between these two drivers. Samet a little bit wide. Karabot is going to go for the move on. Gershi, who goes even wider out of the exit of the corner. And it looks like Karabot's just going to sweep across and get that move. I don't think Gershi's going to try to fight it too much in terms of in that little segment of track, because he's going to wait for it later on. Another replay readying up for you at home, and we will see what will happen as this is between Farrell and that is just, it's that moment again where you feel as though that car sends it to the inside. There's nothing that the one in the middle can do.
Look, you're trying to push it 3 wide. It's not going to work. And now they're side by side here. Kassar goes the long way around at turn 9, looking to make this move. Jake Samet keeps himself to the rear into 11 and chucking it back at him there. Sean Kassar is not giving this up. Turn 12. Can he get the power down on the exit? Big wide line there from Aaron De Battista. A cheeky track extend. Oh, eyes bigger than the belly, Sheldon. Not going to find a way through like that as he sits back there in 4th place. And they've got to really get it back into line here, because the moment they start battling side by side through every corner, they'll allow De Battista to run away. This is where they have to be choice with every move they've got.
They really do. They have to make their make those decisions nice and early, and they're all deciding to go to the inside of that first corner. They might have to move back across, and there we go. Kassar is going to move back across. That is going to be an aggressive move on Samet as they head through the second. Now, they still remain side by side through this first segment, and Muscat's hoping that it's going to lose them time. It might lose Kassar time, but he's going to stay on that inside of Samet, and he gets the better exit finally, which allows him the chance to just get in control of this move. But at the moment, it still looks as though Samet is trying to wrestle it back, trying to hang on to the outside. Muscat waits in behind, and Samet has to concede, or does he? He looks once again to the inside of the next corner, and he's going to be able to just get a touch ahead as Kassar. I think there was a touch between the two. He runs slightly off of the road.
Here we go, 3 wide. Oh, cover defence then. Oh, that was late to move over by Jake Samet. He desperately didn't want to give away anything there. The gap suddenly now 8/10. They have spent the entire lap here, these two, Kassar and Samet, side by side. And finally, Kassar's got clearance, but a switchback trying, then over for turn 12, isn't going to get it done. Aaron De Battista now has daylight, and these drivers looking at the little picture rather than the big one. Huge kick of power on the exit from Sean Kassar.
This is what we found last time, where the drivers got a little bit carried away. We've got a replay in the bottom right corner of your screens of just what happened earlier on. That's not what we would have wanted to see at all for these drivers as they head out, and it will be side by side. Kassar and Samet continue on to the next lap.
So, another attempt, this time to the inside here from Jake Samet. He will try and look through, and Sheldon Muscat wants in as well. Big long line then from Sean Kassar. Tries to work the outside once more, but he's overcooked it into turn 3, and that is move made then by Jake Samet to hold himself back in his ground and know that he's got a lot more time. Now he's got to start focusing on chasing with 16 minutes left on the clock. So moving into turn 6 and 7 here, Sheldon Muscat will try and figure out if there's a way through. You've got Ilan Dimek, gear sheet in 5th place with Ryan Karabot 6th. Then Craig Carolina and Adrian Manduka 7th and 8th. Manduka lucky he's still in. Denzel Agius, by the way, was that driver that we saw on the replay, and so he's down in the pit as far as things stand. So that's another place gain for Mikhail Merchieka as Ryan Karabot getting close to the back of Ilan Dimek here, and just not being close enough yet to manage it. But I think this is quite clever at this moment. Don't do anything silly, because you're only 2 seconds off the back of those three who are battling so hard for second, as there goes Jaden Alul.
They really are, and there goes Jaden Alul. He's going to be down and out, and as I say, race of attrition in Okayama. It continues into Navarra, and George Powers at the moment just trying to regain positions back up after moments earlier on, moments of contact.
Pardew tagged him.
And more drivers,
So I think we're going to get a replay here. So George Parge is going to look for the inside at turn 9. It's one of the better places on the circuit to get the move done. He's very late to it, and the door was basically left dangling open by Jaden Alul, and Parge has gone in steaming at a rate of knots and hasn't been able to pull himself out of it. Now Karabot to the inside at 3. He's going to get that cleared, or is he? Because now here comes that click back at turn 4, and because you've got so much mechanical grip to work with, you're really seeing that difference maker of who's taking a shallow line and who's not. So Ilan Dimek doing a great job and bringing himself into play. Worth noting as well, Jaden Alul had himself a penalty going down the lane, so he had to serve his drive-through penalty out there already in this race, and that would have been for 17 instant points as Sean Kassar again goes to the outside. Won't work.
It won't quite work, but there is opportunities for the 24 to get past. He keeps creating them. Muscat very late on the brakes in behind them, and he does well to stay out of the rear of Kassar. Also stay without a lockup. He stays just waiting in the wings for the moment. De Battista has built up that little bit of a gap, and that could be perfect for the number 1 to be able to break away as we will head towards the halfway point in this race, and there's 1.2 between the top 2.
So, when they're playing ball, Aaron De Battista can't break away. When they're fighting against each other, Aaron De Battista can. How long are they going to dangle off the back of him here, and are they going to have a chance to chase this down? Jake Samet trying to just slowly shake off Sean Cassar. Don't allow any opportunity into the opening couple of corners out here. Ryan Karabot remaining close. Adrian Manduka in his own battle with Craig Caruana, who goes to the outside looking for a way up to 7th place, and he's going to sweep around for it. Oh, he's almost there, but he locks up then at turn 3, and that tempers the run.
Yeah, it does. It just cuts it short for Manduka, who's going to continue to wait and continue to sit in the slipstream in with the perfect opportunity. And Caruana will know that. He'll know that Manduka is just biding his time, and it's just about finding the right opportunity. Is that going to be the next one? Not quite yet. Karabot and Gershi going side by side, and Karabot will be the car on the inside. That'll be Gershi on the outside, who gets the better exit and will just about get ahead. He'll edge his nose ahead, but that means that Karabot will be to the inside and he'll try to get through. Gershi runs a little tiny bit wide, and that might be the finishing blow that Karabot would have been hoping for in the fight. Later onto the brakes into the next zone, but he will be on the outside, which means that briefly Gershi will remain ahead, but Karabot will be able to sweep back through with the acceleration. He continues to take that approach through the next few corners and through the entire final sector, in fact, and it's one that appears to have been successful.
Great tight battle there into turn 13, but it's not done, because with every place on this circuit, there's another one that immediately follows where you can go and attack it back. And so Ryan Karabot not out of the woods just yet, fighting, and behind that, Caruana, Manduka and Bonello together on circuit. You've also got the sense of the likes of Mikhail Murchieka, who's gone through on George Page, and you'll be keeping a very close eye on where every battle goes, because one wrong move around here and suddenly it's tiptoe, topple and all falls down. Karabot holds his ground. No drive off the exit though. Very nearly contact over into turn 4 as Ilan Dimek walks the tightrope, trying to get himself the way through, and at 5 he's going to cover and cut the nose off to get it done. Karabot doesn't know which way to look as he has to abandon any hopes of gaining that place again.
Absolutely, the number 4 just took the opportunities where he could. There was a couple where it looked like a huge gamble, but Karabot allowed him the space, and it comes down to how much do you trust the person you're racing against. Manduka and Caruana are going to trust each other a lot, I'd imagine, because they've gone side by side for a couple of corners, and they may well go side by side through the next one. Bonello waiting in the background as Manduka later onto the brakes. Caruana tries to do the sweep around that worked so well for Karabot in defence, but this time trying to use it in attack. It just about keeps his nose alongside. There's a bit of contact. Luckily, no end plate off for Caruana.
Well, Adrian Manduka there really tried to turn in and put the pinch on Craig Caruana. Always had overlap there, and lucky that he didn't lose the end plate out there. Brandon Bonello's view of this then, as he stares down the barrel of these two in front in this 9th place to try and get himself up the order. I think he realises, look, I am going to want it, and I am going to want it sooner rather than later in front of them. Still, Ryan Karabot fights along this main straight, desperate to try and get this move done. And every time he thinks he's got it sorted, he just can't run the likes of Ilan Dimek out of road, because again he goes to the outside, again he puts his tyre there, again he gets the better run off the exit, again he covers it back at the inside of 4. Groundhog Day for Ryan Karabot.
And it's smart racing as well. He knows that it's an approach that's worked, so it's an approach that he will try to use again and again until at some point it may well fail, but at the moment it is going absolutely impeccably, and at the moment he is just trying to use it to his fullest effect to continue to put the pressure on at the moment. And well, as I say, at the moment it appears to be working. Karabot staying right in the slipstream of Gershi, and he wants to make this move soon, but it's all about where can that 4 falter, and he hasn't done quite yet. Bonello had a look to the inside, but it wasn't anything concrete, and so he will just wait and he will just watch. But Caruana ahead knows that this is somebody looking to make a move.
Well, Brandon Bonello wants in, he wants places, and he knows how critical it's going to be that every single time you go about, you're trying to hunt as well for what you can get out of a move. They will also be sat in the knowledge and understanding here, Joseph, that we're in a week 13 build. This car would have had a couple of fine-tunements and fettlements over from one build to the next.
Yeah, it certainly will. It's one of those where they've had a lot of time to work on the car throughout the course of the season. Of course, it's one of those weeks off from the real competition in terms of the general iRacing stuff. Of course, we have our independent leagues, like we have our Velocity SIMAGIC F4 series, for example. But a lot of the people at iRacing will be taking a look at this race and taking a look in particular at how the cars work with each other, just to, as you say, get those last fine-tunements in before we start the new season. We head towards the latter stages of this one now, and I think these cars have been responded to pretty well by these drivers throughout the course of the campaign. I think it's provided some very, very good racing. It doesn't seem to be at its end anytime soon.
No, Sheldon Muscat here in 4th position. He's watching Sean Cassart just in front, who's 3rd in the championship. And, of course, when Sheldon Muscat's only on 10 points, he's got to find a good, strong finish here to say, look, I'm part of it. Part of the reason why we're not seeing these moves either is that Jake Samet has been slowly whittling against Aaron De Battista, trying to take that gap by corner, straight by straight, 100th by 1,000th. Out there, and every time he has been able to just slowly see that gap evaporate away, and he's going to be using these long main straights to give himself a chance. Under 7 minutes to go now, still 4 at the front, but now they're fully 8 seconds down the road from the likes of Ilan Dimet Girshi. They're in 5th place. So for these drivers, they know they are confirming that, as look how aggressive that is between Caruana and Brandon Bonello, all the way to the pit wall there for Caruana. But for the moment, it's Brandon Bonello trying to make the outside parabola work. Can he go and make that happen as Carabot and Girshi again continue on their scrap? This time Carabot does get the pass done. It's Caruana who holds the inside.
It certainly is, and it's Caruana who holds the position, but he runs wide on the exit, and Bonello tries to take the advantage. Another look at a switchback, another look at being on the inside. Bonello is really, really pushing Caruana to the limits of his defences here. The number 10 is having to be aware through every single corner of his input, of the other cars around his inputs. And with 5 minutes to go in this race, you can still see the action continuing to light up throughout. I mean, we haven't really had a moment to pause, have we? We've just had flat-out racing really throughout. And with these two battles really coming to a head, I don't think it's ending anytime soon. Bonello looking for the inside of Caruana, but he's just trying to put the pressure on. I don't think when he looks to the inside, I don't think he's looking for a move. He's just looking to remind the driver in front that he's there.
Yeah, this is just getting the mirrors. If you force a mistake, goody, you've done that one for free. It's part of the Sim Racer's handbook, how to make an overtake every time you go to it. You know how critical those moves are going to be. Bonello through 13, looking over now towards turn 14 and 15 on track, and he knows it's a sweep down the hill for this uphill final zone out there, and it's uphill at the apex, which makes it doubly difficult rather than just naturally climbing and taking the corner as it goes to the typography.
Yeah, it's all a little bit different. It certainly is, and well, when you're especially racing somebody against you, it is very, very different indeed. And Caruana very late on the brakes there, almost looked like he didn't see the corner coming, but it's such a close apex to the next one that he was able to get away with it, and he just sits in ahead at the moment. Bonello still, he's playing the patient game here, but is he going to run out of time?
Well, there's a reason why he'll need to make that move, and make that move quickly here, Joseph. It's because for this second race, there is a top 8 invert, and guess who's on the bubble?
Well, that is certainly the position that he will want to pick up then, and that is just increasing the stakes of this move ever further. Bonello gets the run, Bonello gets the outside, and he gets later on the brakes. The outside line will allow him to sweep through, but not if Caruana covers him off, which he looks like he's done successfully. It's a sweep through for the next braking zone, and he continues to defend as Caruana. They both know how important this place is. They're both fighting for their lives.
Yeah, they want this one, and they're going to have to go all the way to the end of this race, to the checkered flag, I think, if they're going to see that placement in where they want to. I would be keeping an eye out on how much that race control has been looking at this race one as well, for how many points are going to be put in. Concentration there on Brandon Bonello's face. He knows the task at hand. He's just going about business. Speaking about business, though, Jake Samet within 4/10 of Aaron De Battista with 3 minutes to go.
Certainly is very, very close indeed. And that is the move that he would have been wanting to make for a while. He wants to get close, and Caruana and Bonello could barely be closer. One on the outside, one on the inside, and it's always Bonello who tries to take that gamble outside. This time a slight moment off track on the exit, but he's able to get through, and Brandon Bonello has that very, very crucial 8th place.
Lovely. And in that regard, that 8th place, he'll now have to try and run away, but ultimately, this is a strong drafting car. Very tough, so heavy over the curb on power as Jake Samet. That's going to send no opportunity here into turn number 11 and 12. So I would be looking at Jake Samet here. He's got to the rear. He's now got to bide his time and choose the moment properly here. If De Battista starts to defend this one here, Joseph, I think you'd be looking around at a half sniff of Sean Cassar and Sheldon Muscat, who have melded off the back here.
I think he's almost just got to pretend that Samet's not there. He's just got to keep riding his race, which is exactly what he did to build up that gap. And then I think he started to conserve for these latter stages, thinking a lot about Samet and potentially thinking too much and inviting the 53 back into the fight. 1 minute 40 to go in this session. So time is running out here. I believe it's going to be 2 laps that we've got to go. And Samet has 2/10 between himself and the lead.
Well, it's a case of they were 10 seconds shy of where they needed to be on the runaround to get themselves just the 1 lap to go. So Jake Samet's got another lap to sit and try and understand where is Aaron De Battista weak compared to Moi. Takes a lot more curve through 6 into 7, over the top of the crest and into turn 8 here at the far side of the circuit. A little feint for a move from Sheldon Muscat there at 8. That might just open the door up for the chance to move to 3rd, but it will be at the expense here, you'd feel, Joseph, of the race lead battle.
Yeah, you certainly feel as though it could be coming into effect. Less than a minute to go in this one, and it's getting very, very tense between a lot of the positions. We decided, or we said even earlier on, that there wasn't going to be a moment to relax in this race, and these drivers are certainly not giving themselves the opportunity to relax, as Muscat and Cassar are fighting for 3rd. Samet and De Battista are fighting for the lead. Manduka and Gershi are hanging on to each other, as are Bonello and Caruana. So we've got 4 battles in a 13-car field. That is incredible percentages.
Yeah, they're pretty much all scrapping with each other. Now Jake Samet here for what will be the best chance he's got for the final time. Crosses here as Barney waves the white. They will see here that it will be now last lap starting, and Aaron De Battista, he's on a gap here in towards turns 2 and 3. So this is going to need a lot of setup, a lot of toil, a lot of craft to get this done here from Aaron De Battista, dropping down the hill at turn 4 and over towards turn number 5. Out on track, Muscat and Cassar sit and wait in the wings here, all over the curb, then through 5, into 6 and 7. And this is where Samet has got to be bold and brave here in the Aversio machine. Gets himself right up to the rear of Aaron De Battista, and I think he wants turn 9 as a place where his pass can happen. All the way to the right-hand side goes Aaron De Battista. He's desperately trying to shake him off here. Find any way they can cover it off. Lovely car control. Only gives a car width on the outside, but again, Jake Samet is looking to try and find this move. He's pitting himself into a sticky situation on the outside of 11, trying to get it done. Is there enough room to dive for the inside of 12? No, there isn't. It was close. Don't get me wrong, it was close, but I think that's the moment that was needed here into 13. It's going to have to be an almighty lunge at 15 now for Jake Samet if he wants this done. Aaron De Battista has driven a masterful race here. He's been out there from the front, just trying to work everybody up, and they've been playing to his merry tune. Aaron De Battista takes race 1 at Navarra and does so with some brilliant car control.
Sensational defense right at the very end for De Battista, just to hold on. Cassar just holds on ahead of Muscat as well. The gap at the end of the race was 0.28 of a second, so very, very tight for all the podium positions. Karabots holds on ahead of Gershi for 5th place. And, well, Gershi holds on ahead of Manduka as well. Caruana is going to come home behind Bonello, but they were all fights that were basically all race long.
They absolutely were. We will wait on Jane Nalul, who will be the last car over the line then. And once that is all sorted, we will move to 3 minutes of warm-up and then to Heat 2, which will be coming on up, where we lop 10 minutes off. We invert the top 8 and we say go out there and battle even harder. You got drivers like Mikhail Murcieko who will have to go from 10th in that race. And now you've got a sense of how this circuit battles. In these cars, almost every corner is a chance to have a go back, and you don't get many circuits that have that ability where every corner offers you something very similar in that regard, as we will take a look at results to somewhere like Interlagos. Aaron De Battista, by a margin of 3.5 tenths, beats out Jake Samet, with Sean Cassar and Sheldon Muscat 3rd and 4th. Ryan Karabot finds himself in 5th ahead of Ilan Dimek, Girshi, and Adrian Manduka in 7th. Your top 8 rounded out by Brandon Bonello, who will get the pole for the second race tonight, as Craig Caruana is 9th and Mikhail Murcieka makes your 10.
That's your top 10, and we got 15 drivers racing, 13 finishing. George Padge, Steve Farrell, Jade Nell, Denzel Agius and Dean Vella rounding out the order. In the bottom 2 will be hoping to finish in this second race, and well, it'll be good to see all 15 cars, all very talented drivers, heading through the circuit for the second time now that they've gotten to know the circuit a bit better.
Yeah, and critically, we talk about lap 1, which was, I would say, fraught with a few tags and bumps here and there. But the critical one, championship-wise, Mikhail Murcieka getting caught up and involved, because it hasn't just impacted his race 1, it's impacted his race 2 as well.
It certainly has, because of course, don't forget, we've got that grid rotation for the second race, and well, that could throw things into the mix. Last time we saw absolute carnage at the start, and we saw Gershi just head off ahead of everybody else. And so, could we be seeing the car in 8th place? Because of course, we saw the fighting all throughout. Could we be seeing that reverse grid having the same effect?
I think we could do, and I think because of that, we'll be keeping an eye out on who has the ability to jump and then break away. We saw very accomplished battling prowess out there, and a lot of drivers who are in those second groups, those third groups, would have been cut off there, Joseph, by the fact that they were battling so hard with the drivers around them. Now, you get a chance to re-establish the pack in this second race. Do you think this will be a chance for those who haven't been able to hold that pace by how hard they were battling to finally now show what pace they've got?
I think they're going to give it a go, certainly. I think it's all about... I mean, the sprint race is mostly about demonstrating that pace. The feature race is a bit more about management, a bit more about waiting, a bit more about your racecraft. But a sprint, a little bit less about that. A little bit more about flying through the corners and showing what you can do in a shorter, sharper format.
Yeah, and it's going to be prone to maybe a few more accidents, and they know that chances are few and far between, because we are now at the halfway stage of the season. Who gets your A-star grade card, basically, Joseph?
Well, I mean, it's hard to look past our championship leader, of course. I mean, everybody has really thrown themselves into very, very strong positions continuously throughout the championship. I think it's almost too early to tell where the drivers are in terms of it stacking up. But I mean, Aaron De Battista, he's, as I say, our championship leader heading into this round. He's going to extend his lead after that race 1. He's performed well throughout the season. He's finally taken one over the line, and in style as well.
In style. Let's go over to our grid then for race 2. We've only got a minute to get through it here, so we're going to be rapid fire as they go. Pole will belong then to Brandon Bonello with Adrian Manduka alongside on the front row. Ilan Dimek goes from third and Ryan Karabot then in fourth. It then follows with Sheldon Muscat and Sean Kassar, Jake Samet and Aaron De Baptiste who fought for the win in race one. Craig Caruana starting ninth, Mikael Murcieka then rounding out your top 10. And then let's go over those final 5 drivers then. Here with George Parge, Steve Caesar Farrell, Jaden Alul, Denzel Agius and Dean Vella making up the category as we get ourselves set. Track temperature up by 10 degrees. It's 34 degrees Celsius for this second race. So introduce a little bit more understeer. It's going to be a little bit less nippy through some of these corners, and you're going to have to be brave. You're going to have to be bold. 15 minutes then to go and decide the start of the second half of this season. Green flag are underway. What a launch by Ilan Dimek Girshi there. He got an absolute stormer off of the line and is immediately able to challenge Adrian Manduka here for second place. He's going to get the sweep as he goes into turn 1 and 2. And now over towards turn 3. Bonello holds his ground well. One's going to go off in the background, and that's going to be disaster for Jaden Alul and Denzel Agius again.
Certainly will. They've not had the weekend to remember here at Navarra, but they will hope to build it up. It's a slightly shorter race, but still a long one by all standards, almost side by side for second place. There might be a send for third as Manduka backed out of his move on Girshi, and Karabot is going to have a look at him, but couldn't quite get the overspeed on the exit. Everybody sorting themselves out into position. That's going to be very late on the brakes from Muscat on the outside of Karabot. He's going to try to squeeze through. They will remain locked in battle, and it's about who got the better exit.
You got De Baptiste there behind, you got Sean Kassar, and you got Jake Samet. They're all there. Karabot still trying to hold his ground here against Sheldon Muscat, who tries to work around the outside, turns to the inside, backs out of it then because Karabot's overcooked it on the braking here and doesn't want to leave any room on the outside, chucks it in here. This is all the hallmarks of you're trying to extend here, and they'll say, is that gaining an unfair advantage by keeping your foot down on the throttle? Gets into the side. Oh, there goes Samet. Jake Samet goes around, and ultimately he'll deposit himself down to 13th. All to do now.
Huge shame for somebody who shows so much pace here at Navarra, but Jake Samet's going to have to do all the work from 13th out of the 14 drivers that survived the first lap. De Baptiste is up into 6th place, and he may well be looking for a move into 5th on Muscat into turn number 1, and he will get through. Muscat's dropped down a couple of positions, in fact. What's happened to the 14?
Yeah, so I would look at Sheldon Muscat here, and he is dropping those places like us. Oh, and there's a spin behind. That's going to be Steve Farrell, who's caught up with it. I look at Sheldon Muscat. There doesn't look to be anything too untoward, except maybe a slowdown penalty that he has picked up somewhere on the ilk by running wide. So I think that's where Sheldon Muscat has dropped the time. It's a slowdown penalty. Sean Kassar now already up to 6th. You talk about movers here, up to Aaron De Baptiste out there. You got Mikael Murcieka, who's making good progress. He's up 3 at this point, but top 3, Bonello, Girshi and Adrian Manduka, who ran out of time to get by Girshi in race 1. Here in race 2, now is all the time in the world as Bonello looks to stand his ground at the front of this pack.
Certainly does. We're going to get a replay to see what happened at the start to Jaden L. And, well, this is on, of course, lap 1. He's going to be the one on the outside line. Is he going to just be washed wide? Oh, he's a passenger there once again. That's an unfortunate moment that sees, of course, Denzel Agius out of the race. But he was just cut into the path of Ell. There was nothing either of them could really do about it after the initial contact.
Yeah, it's Dean Vella who has gone into them. Remember, he was in heavy amounts of trouble, and actually he's got a massively bent front wing from that, so he's going to be aerodynamically compromised here around Navarra in this second race. So, De Baptiste with the fastest lap as Murcieka now looking for 6th position. Dives down the inside of Sean Kassar. Can he just whittle off that position here and push him out wide? He does. Forces him a lane that says either you're going to get through or you're not. And the answer to that is he is by his hold out there. Looks like trouble as well for George Parge, who has spun around now, and that's dropped him down the order then for those positions. So there's a lot that's going on here, but for Brandon Bonello, He's looking around in that Project Aversio 59. Sees the 4 of Ilan Dimek trying to get himself into this one and wanting that pass. And he is not just wanting it here in the Intercomp VMD Sim Sport machine. He is needing it. Inside of 9 is going to be to try and take the race lead away at the 1/3 stage. Got it!
Certainly does, and that's a good move. That's exactly what he wanted, and it's we side by side for the lead now. Bonello on the outside, Hirschi on the inside, and he's managed to sweep across just enough to stay ahead of the 59 for now. Manduka waiting in the background, waiting in the wings, and Hirschi did this last time out in Okayama. He's going to try it again, and De Battista on the outside of Karabot. They are going to go really, really deep into the corner. De Battista sweeps through.
Aaron De Battista, I think, is setting himself up for a really good race. He knows that there's no Jake Samet at the moment to worry about. Sheldon Muscat's down the order. You're looking around behind. Sean Cassar, the only threat. So this is the spin here going in from George Page, who just loops it on his own at turn 3 and has to wait for everybody to come on by as they work on through that section. This is where he had that spin. Turn 3, look at how they just concertina up through there. Massive lock-up for Ryan Karabot.
Huge lock-up, not what he would have wanted. And that might have just seen himself lose a decent chunk of time in this pack where you can't really afford to lose a chunk of time. The top 7 split by less than 4/10 between every single driver. Caruana only a second off. So this is exactly the sort of action you expect from a sprint race as we head towards 9 minutes to go, and it doesn't look like there's any signs of relenting for these drivers. Hirschi might be not the quickest driver in this field. If he was, he would have been further up towards the top in race 1, but what he is a fantastic defender.
Oh, and in the background, round goes Sean Cassar, who was too aggressive in on the brakes, trying to get the pass done on Mikael Murcieka, and that's going to cost him behind Steve Farrell for position. So Samet picks one up, Muscat picks one up, and critical for those drivers who look to try and get to top 3 in the championship. Bonello still in second here, but right now I think we're setting ourselves up here for a race where I think we're waiting for the powder keg to go boom.
Well, that would have been the case in Okayama, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same again here, where we had a great fight for the lead, and then we just about had one moment of madness that saw a lot of these drivers drop out of contention, and they will head into turn 1 still line astern, with Hirschi still ahead of Bonello for the time being. And De Battista has a look here on the inside of Manduka. That was impeccably timed, impeccably worked, and a great move.
Caught him napping a little bit there, and Manduka's not going to sit down idly. He looks around for a way as they go through turn 5 over towards turn 6, looking for a run. Attack the best defence then from De Battista, who nibbles on the heels of Brandon Bonello at this halfway stage, but Manduka's not done. Crossover attempt's going to be covered off early to move it across to take the natural line through turn 8 and have a chance of attacking with triple toe over to turn number 9. A look then with Adrian Manduka, who wants a way through, who probably needs a way through out there in a race like this one, knowing that he's got to try and find points the hard way at this moment in time. And he knows into turn 11 and 12 that is a very ferociously quick driver that's in front of him and about to try and attack some very, very good middle of the pack drives. Oh, bang! Massive contact, and Brandon Bonello is dumped away there with that hit, and I will not be shocked to see Aaron De Battista in a lot of trouble with the stewards at the end of this race for that one, and he's got damage to the front wing. Bang! More troubles with Bonello.
Yeah, there we go. That was the cork in the bottle that we saw, and Brandon Bonello really struggling now, we can see, heading onto the main straight. But that was a huge moment that saw our battle for the lead come down to 5. So the driver's staying in it, but Hirschi at the moment has that little bit of a buffer because Bonello was the car in behind. Manduka going for it on De Battista. He went to the outside, pulled the switch back off. De Battista fell for the dummy, and he's going to drop back past Karabot as well. Farrell down the order, so something's happened to the number 16, but that was a very, very well worked move from Manduka, and very, very well worked as well for Karabot to take advantage. De Battista clearly feeling the effects, trying to build his way back up. Macheka's going to try to make his way through, and this might be a drop from the fight for second all the way down to 5th for De Battista, who tries to stay in it. 3 wide moments. Macheka stays in behind, though. De Battista is going to be alongside the 97. Karabot is the one under pressure for 3rd.
Macheka's got to be calm here. He knows he's got a damaged competitor along with it, and they're going to force almost 3 wide into turn 9. Macheka gets to the inside of the wounded De Battista, and the one thing you got to know when the animal is wounded, you just know he's going to be fighting with everything he's got into every corner. He's cleared now. Mikhail Macheka to 5th. We'll now focus on Karabot here in what is 3rd position here now as he sits in 4th. Couple of replays then we're going to have to show you here from all that's going on as Samet fights with Muscat for position. This is Brandon Bonello here, and this is how quickly it goes wrong. Nothing he did wrong in that one. He hit his mark. Aaron De Battista didn't.
Yeah, and that was the way of the world in the end for him, and that was very unfortunate indeed. There's the contact for the 59, and it just feels as though that was a very, very risky send indeed. But now there is going to be side-by-side for 2 fallen drivers. Samet and Muscat were up there earlier on, and Samet is going to be on the inside of Muscat trying to make the move into turn number 2, sweeping through. In turns 1 and 2, it reminds me of the Portimao first couple of corners, really, in that it's a great segment to make a move because it's just so sweeping, but then suddenly tightens up.
Yeah, as I said, it's very Iberian coded. It's also very similar to Estoril in that regard as well. It's another circuit that has that same profile to it of a starting momentum out there. Jake Samet now in 6th after that spin earlier on to get back to 6th. Nothing short of sensational. Sean Cassar also trying to recover back up here. He's trying to find a way with Steve Farrell for position. 4 minutes to go. And suddenly you're talking about how many points am I going to get heading over to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in 7 days' time as around the outside tries to move, but it's run out of road.
Yeah, just run out of road in the end, unfortunately, and that's going to be the case around a lot of these corners because it's just, there's a mistake.
Macheka
there's
as
the
well.
mistake that Farrell would have been waiting for, or Cassar would have been waiting for, even on Farrell, and round he goes.
And so too did Mikhail Macheka on his own off the exit of turn 12, just catching a little bit too aggressive on the power. So he's dropped back now into this group with the likes of Jake Samet, who is now in a top 5 position. So Macheka not having a great meeting here at Navarra is going to be looking at this going, oh, I wish I could take this as a drop round or something of that ilk. But front 2 happy at the moment with the way things are going. Dimek, Manduka, and then Karabot as Macheka goes to the outside trying to get it done here on Jake Samet, looking for a big cutback here off of 3.
Yeah, looking for it. Is he going to get it? Not quite. So he waits in behind. The number 97 just feeling it out, seeking every opportunity to just pull out of the slipstream of Samet, cool down that engine potentially, as we've got 2 minutes 30 left to go in this race. It's absolutely flown by, and Girshi's still flying at the top of the order. As I've said many a times throughout the broadcast, it is a race of attrition, and Girshi is winning right now.
Very much is. Has just stayed calm when everyone else has lost their head around. Sheldon Muscat here in 7th, looking for a way back to 6th place here to move on up. Started this race in 5th, believe it or not. Manduka, who started 2nd, still 2nd right now, and looking for any which way he can get this move done. Looked around, left, right, up, down, slantways. Could have used the Great Glass Elevator to make that move. Hasn't necessarily happened. Position changes on the left-hand side timing tower as they work through 14 and to the uphill pivot of turn 15 to end the lap. And just looking at times here, again, it's going to be close, but this time we're on 1 to go.
Yeah, just the 1 lap to go then for these drivers as they cross the line with a minute 32 to go, so a little bit later on than we would have had last time out. Adrian Manduka, where can he find the chance on Girshi? Is it going to be on the outside of turn number 2? He'll switch back, and he will almost rinse and repeat from a couple of the moves that we've seen earlier on, but Manduka just cuts it too fine.
Yeah, that had to be a track extend there from Ilan Dimek. He's using everything he's got left in the arsenal to make sure he doesn't have to worry too much, and still Adrian Manduka has to find a way. He's clearly affecting the way that Ilan Dimek is driving here. And this could be where you can find a mistake here. Over to turn 8. Get a good run, 90-degree right-hand bend. Then you can put the power down and say, right, I'm going to go for it. Immediate move to the right-hand side. Manduka doesn't immediately follow across here. And I don't think he's got a lane into turn 9. He'll have to look now at 11. And he slightly locks himself up there. Overcommits into the corner. And suddenly Ilan Dimek is at 0.4 of a second here and has every chance of staving off the challenge through these final 4 corners. Into turn 12. It's going to be now, and soon you hope that these hairpins start lining themselves up. Adrian, though, closes right up to the rain light, going through turn 13. He needs a big old send at 15 if he wants to win this race. Ilan Dimek Girshi has held his ground, has held his mark, has seen everybody. Ah, trouble! Big wiggle off the exit. Adrian Manduka waited for the moment, finds it, and he has stolen one on Ilan Dimek Girshi, who will want that back every single time. Oh my goodness, a steal in Spain.
That was what Manduka was waiting for the whole time. A race of attrition, and Girshi did so well to keep it in position the whole time. But unfortunately, at the most crucial moment, Girshi slipped. And for the number 4, he will be absolutely devastated with that second place. Usually a fantastic position to finish in, but he will be absolutely, he'll be frankly upset with that one. But he's had a fantastic race too. De Battista finishing off of the podium, but he has had an even better weekend. And yeah, he'll be very, very happy with that one. And Samet, in the meantime, from where he was earlier on in the race to have finished 5th is frankly sensational.
I think you can only turn around here with Ilan Dimek Girshi, and I think the only person he can be upset with in that battle is himself, because he had that under lock and key. All he needed to do was drive it out the corner, caught a bucket of oversteer, and suddenly he's waking up with a cold shower of second place rather than first. Someone else who's probably looking around at that going, this isn't the day I wanted. Brandon Bonello, who I think's hit everything he possibly could here in the Circuit de Navarra right now, and he will be desperate to get to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in 7 days' time. Right the wrongs there of his race in the Project Aversio number 59. So, you can never count a race over until the last corner is turned, or even who's got drive on the last straight. Adrian Manduka steals one over Ilan Dimek Girshi as Ryan Carabot watches on in the popcorn seat in 3rd. It's Aaron De Battista who works his way up to 4th position, and Jake Samet from a spin all the way back to 5th. But De Battista might have the stewards looking at that race 2 result with the contact he had with the likes then of Brandon Bonello. Mikael Murcieka will take a consistent 6th, with Sheldon Muscat 7th and Craig Caruana in 8th place. Sean Cassar and George Page make up your 10.
And we did have 15 drivers, of course, in this race, as we had earlier on, but we ended up with 12, with Elul, Vela and Agius waving goodbye to the race. Steve Farrell ending up just 18 seconds off of our leader. Brandon Bonello a bit more behind.
So, those 15 there, just 12 finishers ultimately in the race. Another one where it was very much about how aggro everyone needed to be, but critically and most critically on the results there. That was one where you had to set yourself up and give yourself as much room as you could. We are going to take this chance then to jump in with a couple of drivers here. Aaron De Battista here with us right now, a 1st and a 4th out of this one. Aaron, we'll talk race 1 first and foremost, because that was just a case of hold yourself at the front and let the group try and figure it out for themselves behind. You did a really good job of holding your ground there.
Yeah, it's a long-awaited win. I think it was expected sooner or later that I will have a win on my book. I was communicating with Sheldon as he was in 4th. I was communicating with him all the time, just to, communicate to see how I will escape from the battle. And I think it was a quite well strategically. It was good. I wasn't fully happy because at the end I was a bit getting caught up by Jake, but the tire saving has paid off quite well.
Well, the tyre saving certainly helped out, but race 2 certainly looked like a different kettle of fish, especially with that move with Brandon Bonello. I think that completely changed the fortune of looking like you're going to start romping away with championship points to suddenly looking around at maybe what Marvin and Max are looking at in the steward's room.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't need to speak on it. I think it was a misjudgment from my end, and I apologized to him. I apologized to Brendan, honestly. It wasn't, I tried something, I was hungry for the win, if I'm completely honest, and I totally misjudged and clipped the rear end of his car.
Well, for you, it's now a case of moving over to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in 7 days' time. It's a street-style circuit, so it's a lot closer. The margins are a lot finer. Do you feel like this aggressive nature that we've seen out of the driving standards here, do you think that's going to be tempered a little bit with the fact that you are only one wrong move away at a street circuit from the end of the race?
Honestly, I agree with you. Yes, it could be a factor of one mistake and you're out, but honestly, this track was the same as well, because the track, obviously, it heats up the rears and the tires quite by a substantial margin. So I think it's not going to be any better, but it's not going to be any worse either. So it's going to be interesting, honestly. It's a nice track. We've seen a lot of moves in Formula 1 as well. So, and then F4, I think it's going to be same scenario as Hockenheim, I believe. So, yeah.
So we will wish you the best of luck with that going through. Championship leader walking into today, and probably championship leader walking out as well. Aaron De Battista getting the job done. Second in that first heat out there, and critically getting a 5th place in that second heat was Jake Samet, who stood by with Joseph Black.
Yeah, Jake, it seemed to be a bit of a topsy-turvy race for yourself. We'll start with race 1. Do you want to just talk me through the attack that you had to put through?
I mean, it was a difficult race, very, very difficult to overtake here. The plan was to try to stick always within a second, try to see if the guy in front makes a mistake, but he was flawless. There was some instances where we battled with 4P3 and also with the P4 driver, but then, yes, I dropped out of a second. But yeah, I tried to keep calm and come back, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, the pace that you showed towards the end of that first race was very, very impressive. And I think Aaron felt a little bit aggrieved by the fact that you were able to catch up so quickly in the end. But I mean, with the way that second race went then, it was a disappointing race, I'd imagine, but a good fight back.
Yeah, at least it was fun, at least. Yeah, I spun out, but I managed to recover in a solid position. Yes, I tried to stay again within a 5-second gap of the guys in front, since there was potentially penalties going through there, which I think I may gain a place or two. I'm not sure. We'll have to see the race director, but yeah, I take it.
Do you think that those sorts of mistakes, do you think that races of attrition really is what's going to define the championship?
No, I know I have the pace to fight for wins. That is the ultimate target now. I know that I think I might be out of the title fight, but at least now I have nothing to lose. Now I'm going only. My target is only to win races. So moving forward, it's going to be a less stress on me and more stress on the championship leaders.
Yes, it's going to be one of those. And I mean, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve next up. That's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, of walls everywhere, you can say. Yeah, the drivers need to attention all times also. close wheel to wheel with these Formula 4 cars. The field is so tight. I mean, one small mistake and you're punished. And yeah, Canada will be very, very hard. They can find the wall. So we'll try to keep those mistakes as low as possible.
Well, we'll look out for that one. Thank you very much to Jake Samet, who, of course, ended up with a very strong position in race 1 and then a very strong fight back in race 2. And last up in our interview room, we have Sean Cassar, who's with Jake Sperry.
Well, Sean, I would turn around and say today was about trying to pull the gap back to Mikhail, to pull the gap back to Aaron De Battista. And in some respects, you have managed that. And in other respects, it hasn't quite been the week that you've been searching for. But race 1 certainly went the way that you needed to. You had to fight very hard in that opening race there with Jake Samet. Talk us through how difficult it is to close a move off completely here at Navarra.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a difficult track to make an overtake. You need to be really decisive and actually like stick your nose into like corner and make it stick. It's quite hard to judge where to make the move, but yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. As you said, like race 1 came out quite well. I'm happy with P3. It would be good if I'm 2 steps higher than that, but we'll take it. Yeah, but race 2 then unraveled with my own mistake, so definitely not happy with that. But yeah, all around, we'll take it.
And so when you've got only 5 rounds or 5 race meetings in a championship, mistakes like those, how critical are they to avoid, and how much do you feel like that race 2 today is going to cost you moving forward in the championship?
I mean, every little bit counts, right? So every drop of points, you need to maximize, try to make decisive moves and not do anything silly like I did in race 2. But these are things that happen, you know, there's still 2 rounds left. A lot can happen. So yeah, just practice as much as I can and just do decisive stuff on track.
Right, let's talk Gilles Villeneuve now, because it's one of those circuits that I think people either have an absolute hating to, or it's one where they like the flow and the understanding. Is this a circuit that you're going to go into this next week now with happy vibes, or is it one where you're just trying to get through and see yourself to Snetterton?
Honestly speaking, I still need to practice a bit on the track because I'm fairly new to a lot of tracks that are on iRacing. So yeah, I can't really comment too much on what to expect and what not to expect. But yeah, like this track, honestly, I started preparing like a week ago for this track. I had completely no idea about it. So yeah, we'll just give it the best shot and see what the result is.
Well, hopefully it's going to be better fortune out there. Still a P3 in Heat 1, but a 9th in the feature there for Sean Cassar, who joins us then with the action that we have had here at Navarra. Joseph, though, we talk about what will come along in 7 days' time. Gilles Villeneuve is on the horizon, and that as a circuit in a series where there is no quarter given right now in this SIMAGIC F4 Championship, I would say if you're going to give no quarter here, I'd expect about half the cars to finish.
Yeah, it is certainly one of those circuits where there is not room to maneuver really at all in terms of get things wrong. So if these races have been races of attrition, this is going to be even more of one of those, and it's going to be a great spectacle to see. And we'll see, I'm sure, plenty of moves into the 13-14 chicane, plenty of people into the Wall of Champions.
Well, you can only catch that here with us on Velocity Esports Racing. A massive thanks to all of the partners that we're in collaboration with. Of course, your main title sponsor, SIMAGIC, as well as the likes of Motors Inc., Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. From Christian Deploy behind the scenes, from Joseph Black alongside myself, Jake Sperry, this is a day here with Velocity Esports Racing that you look at this one and go, championship has changed, no doubt about it. But in what way it's changed, I think now lands in the eyes of the stewards and that race 2 result, because there are no guarantees on how this result is going to be affected or end out from where we are. And so this title battle that we set ourselves up with 4 races and 2 rounds left to go, it's still anybody's to go and take by the scruff of the neck. Gilles Villeneuve is the next place on the calendar. We will see you in 7 days' time for that. And that is going to promise itself to be a moving day to remember here with your SIMAGIC F4 Series.